Hi, it's Leslie Meredith with Breakbulk Events and Media. And here in the studio in Houston, I have Jack Hedge from Pasha Group. Welcome, Jack.
Thanks. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely great to see you. And you have finished a panel on decarbonization,
Right.
a case study. So that was somewhat of a new format.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So tell us about that.
Yeah. First of all, it was a very interesting format, right? It's nice to have something kind of a real world example to look at, and when you're trying to explain something that's really kind of esoteric, and a little bit hard to sometimes get your head around, right?
Exactly.
What does decarbonization mean? So it was a good format for that. I think we talked about the different pieces of this move of a piece of cargo and what we either did to reduce the amount of carbon emissions associated with moving that piece of cargo from point A to point B, and what could be done in the future. What are the things that are still out there? What are the next steps that we can take? What are things that we can move forward to? So it was really interesting.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So can you briefly tell us the steps or the measures that were put in place in this real world example first? Tell us that
Yeah,
first.
so it really looked at, we looked at this move and how this move could have been done with a much lower carbon footprint. So for example, in the shipping, putting it once it was on the vessel and going from Singapore to Los Angeles, how could you reduce the carbon footprint of that shipping move? And so obviously you could do a different ship with a newer fuel, with a lower carbon fuel, that kind of thing. But also were there other things that we could do? If you couldn't get to full zero with the ship, could you buy carbon offsets from somewhere else and apply those to that vessel so that the vessel itself got reduced down to zero? And the example that my colleague from Maersk used was, it's like you have a piece of cake and you eat it, so you offset it by having a carrot. So that's I thought that was a
I
good
like
way
that.
to illustrate that.
I like
Yeah.
that. I'll remember that the next time I have a big piece of chocolate
Just
cake.
if you eat a carrot, you're fine. Fine.
Okay, all right. What are do you think some of the new technologies or new techniques that might be available in the future?
Yeah, it is incredible the number of things that we're going to be able to do and that we can do now and we're going to be able to do in the future. And I don't think we've even really started to scratch the surface. I mean, right now we're sort of in this ad hoc sort of, well, let's try this, well, let's try that, well, let's do this, well, let's do that. But I think we're coming down to some more repeatable things that we can do, which are going to start to have huge benefits and make huge gains. We're starting to see a lot more advancement in the ability to use alternative fuels. And as those come to fruition, as those get tried in the real world and proven in the real world, then I think we'll start to see that demand supply issue around those fuels start to sort out a little bit and take care of things a little bit. And I'm sort of excited about the rise of or the use of artificial intelligence as a way to help us process the study data, the research data that needs to be done to accelerate the development and adoption of some of these new technologies, new fuels, things like that we can do that I don't think we've even scratched the surface on yet.
Well, that sounds very promising.
It is. It's very promising.
That's great. Well, and I should mention to our audience that your group sponsored this session. So
We did.
thank you so much for that. And just give us a little description of Pasha Group and what the future holds for the company.
Yeah, so Pasha's a 75 plus year old family owned business, privately held company based here in the U.S. A lot of people know us for our Pasha Hawaii business. So we are one of the Jones Act carriers that services U.S. West Coast to Hawaii with all the products and goods and services that go to Hawaii.
Hence the Hawaiian shirts.
Hence the Hawaiian
right?
shirts, yes. And we've already discussed my lack of a Hawaiian shirt. We won't go into that anymore.
We'll try to find you one.
But I appreciate you. We're a big auto processor. We ship autos to Hawaii as part of our cargo to Hawaii, but we're also a big auto processor on the West Coast. Largest auto processing facility on the West Coast is a Pasha facility in San Diego. We run terminals up and down the West Coast. We have terminals leases in San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Grays Harbor, Washington, and we stevedore all over the country and all over the West Coast. And we're expanding. We're growing. We're moving to other ports, looking at other ports, expanding our footprint in other ports. We have a big NVOCC operation, so we do a lot of we're starting to do more and more international shipping now and things like that. We have a trucking company. We do a lot of things. We're an integrated logistics player. But Breakbulk is a core business of ours. RoRo and Breakbulk are core businesses to us. Our terminals are Breakbulk and RoRo sort of specific, and so that's really where our growth is. That's our niche. That's where we think we add a lot of value, and so we'll keep doing that. Decarbonizing those operations is central to the company. I mentioned we're privately held and family owned, and the family takes that very seriously. So it is coming from the very top of the organization. It's important to us. It's the future of the industry. It's the future of the economy, and we ought to be at the front of it and doing what we can to make a change and make an impact now. So
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for telling us, what happened on that panel and giving us such a good view of Pasha. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I learned quite a bit.
Well, good.
So thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right.